Hi, how you doing? Okay, so on this playlist, Women in History, I've got some videos on violence towards trans women, and I just wanted to kind of put in my 2 cents on that subject. Um, well, first of all, I think that what I think when cis men first get the idea that there's trans women, they you have to understand their background, because I transitioned later in life, so to men, I was one of them, when we were in high school, and I never really fit in. I mean, everybody liked me, but they always thought I was weird, especially when it came to subjects of women. They would talk about how they don't understand women, and I just it was all. I always found men harder to understand than women, and and then the way they hit each other. I grew up in a family of sisters, so I thought that's must be what it is. I'd never heard of transgender people yet, but what they would do is men, what they do socially, boys, high school boys, what they do socially is, if you're gay, they beat you up. Some of the people in my high school would wait outside of gay clubs, and when gay guys would come out, they'd beat them up with baseball bats, you know? And I never saw that, and I'm not sure if it ever happened, but that was the stories they would tell, So, like the first time I had sex was with a boy when I was like 7 years old. He said, "Yeah, you can pretend like you're a girl and we can have sex. I'll be the boy, you can be the girl." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I thought that'd be fun, and I did think it was fun. It was fun, even though at that age that's kind of uncomfortable. Anal sex at 7. It's pretty. It's a subject in and of itself, I guess. But it's just I liked the idea of being the girl so bad that it just I liked it, you know, and uh, so and then just like there's always been little things, like that, just like all my life, either trans things or like I like guys things or what I would have called bisexual things like that. So when I was in high school, during this time when it got more, the other boys were more violent, I would, I wouldn't even let my own brain think those things. Like the way they would, like if I would have said, yeah, I'm 7 years old, sex with a boy, they would have beat me up, but I would have done that to myself first if I would have said that in my head, if I would have remembered that experience or thought about it or let it move through my brain, I would have probably beat myself up or hurried. I don't know what I would have done, but at that age, I was brilliant at avoiding the subject, even in my own head, let alone to other people, out of fear, because that's what boys do to each other. That if that's what you are, you're going to get beat up. You know. I don't know if it's like that nowadays. That would have been the '80s, but in California, so California was probably like other places were in the '90s. It has to be at least 10 or 20 years ahead of the other places. So maybe it is kind of like that. But then I remember like around the first, actually I don't know when it was. I just remember it. Like guys, they say things like, wow, would you have sex with a trans woman if she was really sexy and passed as a woman real good and things like that. Yeah, I don't. Every once in a while there's one that's brave enough. I don't give a shit. Yeah, dude. Things like wow, man. It's just very boys huddle together, they compare thoughts and they control each other's thoughts with fear that it's a bad thing, and with the penalty of violence, and they walk behind trans women and decide if it, they think with their dick, like they say, men think with their dick. Well, they sure do think with their dick. They really do when it comes to trans women. If you pass and you turn them on, they're not going to treat you the same way as if you totally don't pass. That makes a huge difference to a man in whether they accept you as a man or a woman. You might have boobs and a vagina and on female hormones and everything. There might be two trans women like that, and the one that passes and is sexy is going to get way more respect. You know. So how does that fit into the American Constitution? So that should, if you're an American, if that, it doesn't matter what you think religiously, that should be really upsetting what I just said, So as an adult, and a trans woman, like the dating scene is really hard because, man, what I do is I tell them, you have to meet me for coffee, you know? If it, there's like, I'll sign up for like a dating site and there'll be like 200 or 300 men that want to hook up or something like that. There's no shortage of men that like me, and I'll just go through them one at a time. Yeah, will you meet me for coffee? Like, no, no, 150, nope, never, nope, 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 not, nope, they all want to meet you in secret. And then they'll call you conceited. They'll call you names like, what a stuck-up bitch. Why do you need to meet for coffee? Who do you think you are? Just like hardcore narcissism. They don't give, like, you are not a person to them. They don't care even enough to, like, their brain hasn't even like gone that direction far enough that they just can even begin to get what's going on. It's all about them and their needs. And wow, I mean, some of the things I've seen, and I've hooked up with many men, you don't want to be slut shamed or anything like that, not a lot, only a fraction of the hundreds of men, you know. And and I never, the men try to proposition me in real life, like nowadays I've said no to every man in the world so many times that they no longer try to get me to have sex with them. But the first 3 years, like every day, it was between 1 and 3 times a year men had tried to proposition me for sex, and I'm like not thinking, dang, some of them are good looking. I'm like looking at them in the car like, what the hell? Like, why do I need to be a prostitute? Why don't you just ask me out on a date or something like that? It's hard to get them to do that, to go out on a date, So, you just have, like, you have to, like, men need to, like, a man could really benefit from looking at this playlist, Men really need better thoughts in their heads, and they need to push each other in a different way. Those are like super barbaric. Everything I just said is, the man is, I just made, if you heard what I just said, basically I was just saying men are a bunch of like hairy barbarians. That's like dipshit, hardcore dipshittedness, isn't it? I mean, your brain would have to be about that big to participate in any of those things. That's stupid. It's like the definition of stupidity. The epitome of it. So, like, come on, man, get a clue. Get a fucking clue. Like, especially if you're religious, and then some of them will do it in the name of the Bible. It's like, oh, have you even read the Bible? It's like, can I say 5 words? And, like, they're just like, just their knowledge of the Bible is about that big. It's just like nothing's ever impressive about anything in science, sex, a little bit bigger, it's just like, none of it's impressive. I'm not talking about all men, just the ones that, that perpetuate bad feelings towards each other, with each other towards trans women and things like that, So that's what I think about the violence. I think that it's just really like, man, like it's almost like I remember when I first came out, one of my friends, one of my most like misogynist friends, said oh, she was telling someone else about me, oh, he just wants an in with the ladies. So think about that, an in with the ladies, and how they don't want you to go in the bathroom. Just start adding things up. He's right. That's exactly what they think. They don't want you to be recognized as a woman because they don't want you to have an in with the ladies. It's their fantasy to have sex with every woman in the world. And if you're like standing right next to the woman they want to have sex with, they're jealous and they want to kill you because you're a man to them. So that's like really barbaric, isn't it? And I think that's what it is. It's the barbarism that men need to get out of. How many of the, and remember how small, like when it says there's like 250 trans women killed this year, and 80% of them were black, like you're like, oh, 200, well, how many, there was 250 trans women, well, how many cis women were killed? It's predictably going to be a bigger number, but you have to remember what a small fraction we are. We're like 2% of the population. So for 2% of the population to have a number that's so big, that's not so much smaller than everybody else is, wow, that's that is an epidemic, isn't it?